What's up, everybody? Welcome to Respawn Aim Fire, episode 141. We are the kick-ass, irreverent gaming podcast where three lifelong friends gather to talk about video games. My name is Chad Michael Innes. That's Holden DePardo.
Hi.
And you're you, the listener. And that's why we love you. Your lifelong friend, you sexy little shallot. Is shallot a food?
Yes.
I don't know. It was great. Shallot. It's not seafood.
Well, it's
scallions? What am I thinking
scallions,
of? What is a shallot?
I was thinking for a second that a shallot is the little green things you put on top of a baked potato, but I think that might be scallion.
Or is that chives?
Or is that chive? Oh my gosh. We're not culinary chefs.
What's the seafood things that look like little cakes, but they're not crab cakes?
Scallops.
Scallops. I always get all these things mixed up.
Amazing. I love scallops.
I fucking hate those. Fucking hate them. Anyway, welcome.
It's okay. Some people can be wrong. It's fine.
I need you to look that up while I'm doing the rest of this introduction here.
Shallots?
Yes. Shallots, scallions, scallops, and...
It's funny, I know exactly how to spell it, too.
And chives.
Oh, it looks like it's a type of onion.
Which one?
I'll pull up a picture of it. The shallot.
Shallot? Okay.
And scallion is the little green things you put on top of like a baked potato.
Still not convinced the difference between the two.
Okay, well, let me show you what a shallot looks like.
Okay, shallot. I feel like it's like Whoa, not what I was expecting. Okay.
But you'll like rip that apart. You won't eat it like that.
Dude, I'm just
like an onion. You don't like eat the onion unless you're, Shia LaBeouf and holes. Then you just eat the onion.
I was literally just about to say unless you ferment it and make sploosh. Dig it up. I'll dig it. Guys,
great.
This is a little bit of a unique episode. I am recording this while on vacation
Scallions.
Yes. They're kind of like green onions.
Yeah.
Green onions are like the little baby ones on top of the long green dicks.
Little baby ones.
Yeah.
Like
I'm on vacation. I'm recording this on my phone. Holden's recording like normal. Holden, you need to refocus your camera. So I'm going to do my best with the audio. I apologize in advance. Nope, that did not work, Holden. There it is. All right, now get your finger out of the way. So this will be a test of my post-production skills with Logic Pro 10. We are going to be talking today about a shit ton of shit. And by that, I mean not too much, because still holidays. Nobody's releasing news stories or anything like that. We're going to talk about our Game of the Year 2019, however, which is a big fucking deal. And we're also going to be talking about some Oculus news, some Atari news. Ooh. But we're going to start like we always start, by pussyfooting around and talking about what we played this week. Holden, it's actually been has it been 2 weeks? We did Monday, and this is Sunday. No, it hasn't been 2 weeks. When's the last time I saw you?
It's been more than a week. It's been longer than our usual time away from each other, I think.
You're true, Ka. You're true. What did you play?
I played 3 things. Here's the thing I'll kind of preface with. My original goal was to play the games that I wanted to consider for Game of the Year that I hadn't played yet. And then I kind of realized it's not really doing a service to those games just to rush them in really quickly and then actually take them seriously. So I just kind of decided not to do that and just to kind of play some games that I wanted to play. It was the end of the semester. I'm just going to play some stuff I wanted to play. So I played some more Sekiro just because I wanted to play more Sekiro and had no thoughts of finishing it, just play it. And then I started playing Wolfenstein. I've talked about Sekiro a bunch, so it's not worth talking more about. But great game. I'll talk more about it later in the episode.
Great.
Wolfenstein: The New Order. I played that finally because Chad and I had a pact that if he watched one season of Mr. Robot, then I would play one game in that series.
Yep.
He finished the first season, so I'm gonna beat Wolfenstein: The New Order. And at this point, I just got out of the hospital where you're kept after you make it. After you get, basically you run out of one of the Nazi camps or something like that, or Nazi castles, whatever it is, and you get your head cut, and you wake up in this doctor's office. I just broke out of there.
And the annoying drone battle out in the courtyard.
Oh yeah, really annoying. They wouldn't go down. They wouldn't go down.
Yep.
But maybe it gets a lot harder, but people kept saying this game is so hard, and I haven't found it to be that difficult. It seems like it's a first-person cover shooter.
You
just really got take cover and be slow.
That's I don't know. You could play it a couple of different ways.
That's how I'm playing it.
The fun as fuck way to play it is just fucking guns blazing. But you just got through a completely different part of the game than the rest of the game is. You remember when this game came out, everyone was like, man, they let us play it the first 2 hours at E3 or whatever, and it was oh, this game's not good. But then the rest of the game, like after the first intro part of
Yeah.
the game, it gets really, really, really great. That's about where you are right now.
Okay, cool.
I
'Cause
personally
so far,
played the first part and I was like, this isn't bad. Everyone said it was bad, but no, this isn't so bad so far.
No, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say is it's very mechanically good. It feels like every other shooter I played so far, but
Right.
I guess that's kind of how I'm supposed to feel right now.
Yeah.
And it gets balls to the walls after that because I've always kind of known Wolfenstein just from how people talked about it as bonkers ridiculousness, balls to the walls from beginning to end. Crank, the Nazi shooting video game, essentially.
Yep.
But I'm still enjoying it. I am enjoying it. The other thing is that I started watching The Witcher, and I got 2 episodes in, and then maybe go, I want to just try playing The Witcher again. I also want to play The Witcher again because Cyberpunk's coming out, and I would just like to see how CD Projekt Red has evolved from The Witcher 3 to Cyberpunk, and kind of how they handle those different IPs differently than being fantasy and Cyberpunk being the genre, not the name. And I'm just kind of curious how they handle both. I'm just interested, and I'm actually really enjoying it more this time around because I think I'm just being mellow with the game. And
Yeah.
just kind of taking it as it goes, as opposed to like when I play Fallout, for example, and I'm just like running everywhere to find out new stuff all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stay in this town and I'm going to do everything this town has to offer. I'm going to talk to all the people. I'm going to just live in the world. And, I'm having a really good time doing it that way.
Good.
I'm
It's been
not very
almost
far-
3 years since our first attempt at that game.
Yes. Oh,
Isn't
and I
that crazy?
specifically doing it again because it's on Game Pass. And I'm like, oh, it's a massive
Oh,
file
it's on
size
Game Pass?
game. It's on Game Pass now. And I'm like, oh, it's a massive file size, and I have a terabyte in my Xbox, so don't feel as bad about having it there.
Right.
So yeah, I'm enjoying that. But I haven't really done too much with game playing as of late, honestly, just because end of the year, holiday stuff, finishing up the last week of the semester, and then just TV show stuff got my attention a lot. But this
Yeah.
isn't a TV podcast, so we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, Chad,
Dope.
there's one on here that you have in the list I'm really curious about. I don't know if you wanted to start here or not, but I want to know what Beat Saber 360 on Oculus is like.
Ooh, yeah. So I was home, obviously, since the last time we recorded. So I didn't have any of my normal consoles with me. I got my Switch. But my sister has an Oculus Quest. And recently, Beat Saber released 360-degree levels, where you're not only just hitting the notes in front of you, but they're coming from all directions. And then on PSVR, they have 90-degree levels, where it's just basically a wide cone in front of you. They're just kind of rotating back and forth between. I played the 90-degree ones on PSVR, and it's fucking dope. They have... What I don't really love is that... I mean, I'm sure they'll expand it, but they only have a select list of songs that are enabled with that. And then with that, each one is only available in one difficulty. So like if I wanted to play Panic at the Disco High
That's
Hopes...
very limited.
Yeah, if I wanted to play High Hopes by Panic at the Disco, I have to play it on hard. I can't play it on expert. But
It'd be like having like Rock Band, but only drums available on some songs.
yeah, you can only play drums on some
kinda
songs and only
strange.
on easy, but you can play the bass on hard or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's really fucking cool. And it adds a whole new challenge because even playing that song specifically, High Hopes, is one that I play like normally double speed, disappearing arrows on expert. And now even playing it on hard double speed, I'm like, whoa, this is really interesting and weird because notes are coming at me from the right, but they have a left arrow on them, and then the left coming from with the right arrow. And it's like I have to completely rewire my brain to think about how I'm going to move in space to hit these things. So it's really, really cool. But I wanted to try it in 360, and my sister had the Oculus Quest, and so I tried that out.
It sounds like a lot. It sounds like it'd be overwhelming, honestly.
It's not overwhelming. Honestly, it is basically the same experience as 90 degrees for me. You are literally rotating 360 degrees around, but if you think about Rock Band Unplugged on PSP.
Yeah.
You know how you have the different lanes and you have to jump between the different lanes? That's kind of what this is, except you're not physically jumping. You're not pushing a button to jump between the lanes. You're just kind of turning your body as it goes. And they feed into one another. So it's kind of like a gradual progression around as like the notes come at you.
That's what I was curious about. Because if it was like you're going in front of you and then you have to know to turn around completely.
Right. It's not like that.
Really strange, yeah.
So because it's that kind of gradual flow either direction, there's not I felt like there's not a lot of difference between the 90 and the 360 degree levels, so I'm totally fine now. I'm not feeling like I'm missing the Beat Saber experience by having it only on PSVR. But regardless, it's cool. If you have any platform with Beat Saber, go try those out. They're really, really awesome. I also noticed, like, I've been playing a lot, obviously, on my PSVR, but then jumping back into it on the Oculus Quest, it really hit me how much lesser of a visual experience it was because, I guess, of the processing power. Like, all of the barriers and things like that you have to avoid while they're coming in are just, like, completely hollow wireframes.
Yeah, they're not glowing, like,
yeah, they don't have, like, the cool liquid
yeah.
textures and shit like that in them. Like, everything is super low, not low res, but just, like, the textures are much simpler. Like,
I think the lighting is also just brought down a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, did you get a hand job from Sarah Pierce? 100%. That's American Vandal. Yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot. I am totally fine with the 90 degrees as well. Good shit. Beat Saber's fucking great game, dude.
I haven't heard of it before. You've never mentioned it once, ever.
Beat Saber. Alexis. It won best VR game at Game Awards. I also played a lot of Mario Kart. My almost 5-year-old nephew is obsessed with Mario Kart now. He's got it on his iPad. He's got Mario Kart Tour. He's got he just got for Christmas, the day after Christmas, we go gift card shopping, and we all spend all of our gift cards that we got on Christmas. He got a Nintendo 2DS with Mario Kart on it, and then my parents have a Switch, and they got Mario Kart on it. So we played a ton of Mario Kart on Switch, and I fucking kicked their ass. Except, we, just for fun, I've never tried 200cc before. Just for fun, we tried 200cc. That shit is so fast. And somehow, my little 5-year-old nephew got second place on one of these races, and I came in like 10th. I'm like, how the fuck did you do that?
To me, 150cc is the one true way. It's just perfect. 200 is ridiculous. It's just, I think it's too much.
Yeah.
Personally speaking, I think it's too much.
But it was fun. We were playing on 50cc for 99% of the time we were playing, so.
50? I'd rather do 200 than 50.
Well, I mean, we had to because they're babies.
I know, because he's little babies. But, like, ugh.
We also played Donut County, which you can now listen to. Go to our podcast feed, look at our BARF episode, Backlog Accomplishment with Respawn and Friends. We just released that hopefully yesterday or the day before when you're listening to this.
Hint, hint. We haven't actually recorded it yet.
Yeah. But then I also played Destiny 2 on Stadia while I was home because that was the only way I could play it. Because here's the thing. I wanted to play on PS4 with everybody, especially because, you know, we started the new raid. There's raid layers that I didn't know were a thing that are like smaller versions of the raids, like smaller things. And we started one of those just on game night, or it was even just, maybe it was a game night. I don't know. But with Trevor and Cal St. James and, no, it wasn't St. James, it was someone else. Anyway, regular Kyle and a bunch of other people. Dallas was there. And we got all the way through it and got to the final boss, tried it a few times and didn't get to it. And then on that Saturday, we're like, let's try it again. But I was at home. I was like, I'm going to do PS4 remote play. I'll do that. It's usually worked fine in the past. Something about my new router setup, despite having a connection at my parents' house of like 50 megabits per second, it kept saying my internet connection was too slow. On every device I tried, couldn't freaking get it to work. Sucked a asshole. So I was like, fine, I can't play it, but I still need my Destiny 2 fix. So I logged on to Stadia, courtesy of Matt. He gave me his buddy pass, got my DualShock 4 up and running, and I played it on my parents' Wi-Fi for probably a total of like 10 hours while I was home that week, which was pretty impressive. It was still not the ideal way to play. I was having frame rate stuttering issues like crazy. I was like, there were times when the game would just completely straight up freeze, and I would have to close Chrome and load back into the strike we were doing at the time. And I'm sure the people I was playing with were like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? So yeah, still not sold on Stadia tech as is, especially running on Wi-Fi that should have more than enough bandwidth to support 4K gaming, let alone the 1080 I was doing in my browser. But it was still a worthwhile way to play Destiny 2, which is really what it's all about. I got that snow globe ghost for the event. I got the sleigh, fucking glider fucking shit.
Oh, so they're not doing the Halloween stuff anymore?
No,
because
they're not
that's
doing
the last
Halloween,
thing I remember them doing.
But I'm still working to try to get this polar bear sled. It's going to be so fucking cool. So fucking cool. I'm baking all these treats, giving them to people, making, so Christmassy. Anyway, love Destiny 2. It was great. And that's all I played this week. Let's jump into our quest log, starting with Fetch Quest. We got a few things going on here, some things that are just basically headlines, but just still deserve a little bit of talky talk. Chalky chalk, spatchy spat. God, I miss Baby Yoda. I need to continue watching Mandalorian.
Dude, it ended great.
Did it? Oh, that's so good to hear.
It ended great. There was also something in the last episode that was just traumatizing, and I haven't forgotten it. It was
fucking Taika Waititi. Get all over my pussy.
I hate Jason Sudeikis now, but it's not really his fault. But
Jason Sudeikis is in it?
He plays a scout trooper.
Oh, cool. Speaking of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order combat and traversal has been tweaked in a new patch, says Brianna Reeves from PlayStation Lifestyle. Too little, too late for me. But apparently, according to the patch notes, it fixes all the trouble we had. Like, it makes combat more responsive. Your blocks and the animations and things like that are actually... your counters are actually going to be more responsive. Your traversal, your jumping to ropes and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like this is what should have launched when the game came out.
Had I not deleted that game the very second I beat it, I would try it out again. But I just don't feel like re-downloading a massive game just to see if it plays better, and then I'm still not going to play it.
Yeah, that's so sad that, like, when you launch a broken game, sure, you can... There are very few times when people have launched a game, it's been broken, they fix it, but the narrative around it is still, oh, yeah, that's the game that was fucking broken at launch and nobody played and nobody wanted or liked it, blah, blah. I mean, we are obviously in the minority about the game that we didn't like it. But still, I mean, I can think about No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky launched broken, blah, blah. They fixed it. Everybody loves it now. But everything outside of that, even Stadia, I feel like...
Every single human being on the planet obsessed with No Man's Sky.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to come back from that. We'll see if Star Wars can do it.
Yeah. Well, though, leading to the next... Sorry, I'm taking over for you here for a second. Leading to the next story, hopefully it improves the next game.
Yeah, because I will play that for a sequel. Yeah. Here's a quote from the job listing. We're looking for a highly skilled senior software engineer who will embrace our philosophy and share his or her hard-earned experience to create an incredible Star Wars experience for our players. I said experience, it was expertise the first time, sorry. We're picturing someone who is passionate about the Star Wars universe and is invigorated by the idea of coding third-person action-adventure games. If this sounds like you, we're looking forward to seeing your resume. All right. So maybe they learned what they need to do from the beginning with this new patch, and they're going to make a sequel that's great.
And I'm just, obviously, it's not officially announced, but I don't see a way of reading that and interpreting it any other way than they're making Jedi Fallen Order 2. That just seems very apparent. And why wouldn't they? It sold really well. So I'm very excited to see that game still, even though I think we're both excited to see that game.
Yeah.
I think we'll both play it.
I still love Respawn as a developer. I think this was a stumble on their part, but yeah.
Yeah.
Resident Evil ambassadors have been invited to playtest an unannounced game, says Brett Makedonsky at Destructoid. I think it's Resident Evil 8.
The article was very careful to say it wasn't Resident Evil 8. They kept saying, well, it could be Dino Crisis. I'm like, we basically know Resident Evil 8 is coming.
Yeah.
I think it's Resident Evil 8.
Or do you think it's Resident Evil 4 remake?
I don't know. I think that whatever it is, it's not coming out in 2020. I think Resident Evil 3 can stand on its own in 2020. Whatever this is 2021 or later. But I think they do a Resident Evil 8 before I did a third remake in a row.
I think so, too. Also, I feel like Resident Evil 4 remake is a much bigger undertaking than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a Tesla, you can play Stardew Valley coming this holiday, which is now, says Liz Lanier at IGN. So, cool. When you're parked or charging and you're waiting a half hour for your battery to charge up, you can do a farm. I wonder, does that farm sync with your other farms? Like if you have it on Steam or Switch or something like that? Or is that something... Because that's a game that you invest time in.
I know. I was thinking that. I don't think so.
You can only play that in your car.
Something to keep in mind is this game was made by one person.
That's an interesting choice for a Tesla game.
It is an interesting choice. I think
because it's not like I can be driving and you can be sitting in the passenger seat playing it. You can only play this when the car is on and parked,
and only in 30-minute increments, especially when you're charging. Essentially,
right?
Like, I mean, there's no timer, but like it takes about 30 minutes to charge a Tesla, I believe.
It depends on whether you're at a supercharger or not, but
yeah, I would rather play an arcadey kind of game than play Stardew Valley on a save that
like Cuphead.
It won't sync over. I'd rather just play on my Switch where I can take it everywhere and it's the same farm. Right. And interesting choice.
Game Awards this year set a new viewership record according to Andrew Smith at IGN. It's up 72% from last year, reaching 45 million total views. So as it goes from 2014 to 2019, it's been 1.9 million, then 2.3, then 3.8, then 11.5, picked up to 26.2 last year, and then this year was 45.2 million people, which is crazy to see that in the age where viewership for the Emmys and for the Oscars and the Golden Globes and all these things are like decreasing like crazy, that this is exponentially growing. It's insane.
I wonder why. I think the Emmys and Oscars need to start making announcements within their show. I don't care about musical numbers in the middle of the Oscars. I think they're always so cheeky and dumb. I'm also not like a big musical person in general, so I think that's maybe part of the reason. But like, I think that 45 million people is like, oh shit, there could be a huge announcement, at this event. I want to watch it live now. And I think like because Xbox Series X was announced at this Game Awards, next year people will tune in just to see what the next big thing that's going to be announced is. And I mean, this growth is huge. It's practically exponential. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think there are two reasons why this will work, but I don't know if announcements and the others will work. But one is it's available to stream everywhere for free versus like the Oscars and stuff like that. You have to either have a cable subscription or you have to
That's a good point.
Find someone to go. Everyone has to go to a house to watch it. Versus this, where you can just log on Twitch or YouTube. Or
boring.
Exactly, yeah. But what's interesting about video games is that our industry reserves their announcements for very big press conferences or directs or things like that, whereas movie trailers drop all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if there's anything big enough that they could wait and reserve that would blow people away at the Oscars, unless it's like the next Avengers trailer or whatever.
Side tangent. Because I can think of an event announcement where I was recently where I'm like, shit, I didn't know Christopher Nolan had a new movie coming out, and Tenet looks amazing.
God. Did you get to see before Star
prologue?
Wars?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, it looks so good. I can't wait. Very
wait.
excited. So excited. I don't want to know anything else. I just want to go see the movie. Anyway,
You're right. That's
on.
the kind of thing.
It's not a movie spot.
You know what? Save all of your Super Bowl trailers for the Oscars.
Yeah.
No,
seriously.
they're not going to do that because more people watch the Super Bowl than watch the Oscars. So
that's true. But maybe more people would watch the Oscars if they had not like an Avengers trailer, but if they had like the new Francis Ford Coppola like movie, like more arty movies that people who watch the Oscars might look for. Actually, I don't even know if arty like film lovers watch the Oscars either. What's the demographic for the Oscars? I don't even really know.
Like old women and drunk white girls.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's get dressed up and watch the Oscars. Ah! I don't know. I don't watch award shows except for Game Awards. So,
yeah.
Next up, Sony announces Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and Overcooked 2 will launch on PlayStation Now starting January 2nd. And that replaces what was previously available, Spider-Man, God of War, and forgot what the other one was. So another good plug for PS
Days
Now.
Gone? Was it Days Gone?
No, it was not Days Gone. I don't remember.
Bloodborne?
Alexis. Xbox Games with Gold January 2020 free games have been announced, says Andrew Smith at IGN. We got Styx, Shards of Darkness, Batman, the Telltale series, Tekken 6, and Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. More and more I'm looking at this and saying they need to scrap this and just stick with Game Pass.
Yeah, your prediction last year of just making Game Pass the games with gold package instead, like just great idea. It would attract. It'd be way more interesting.
Yeah, I feel like now that Game Pass exists and now that Sony's like buying into PlayStation Now, I feel like the free games each month with Xbox Gold or Sony PlayStation Plus is just like it feels old and dated and something that it's not the way that we want to consume media now, which is weird because Game Pass has only really been around for like a year.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge there would just be that there are two separate services because they need to have a separate like income channel to support each of them.
Yeah.
But even think if they just said like, hey, here's a sampling of just our. Well, they couldn't. I don't know. They wouldn't want to say here's just the Microsoft games on their own in Xbox Live because then I think at that point no one would buy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think if they said like, hey, here's some really cool indie games you might not have heard of that like we're going to put in games with gold.
Yeah.
Because it's an extension of Game Pass. Even like that, I think would be better. Like if there was like a bridge almost between them. I don't know, but like, yeah, you're right. This doesn't work. I don't look at this and go, ooh, Styx, Shards of Darkness.
It's also weird that as they're starting to push Game Pass Ultimate, which is both bundled into one, it's like you have this collection of 100+ games that are really awesome, and then you also get like this weird little offshoot of like 4 games you can keep permanently that you kind of care about.
Are you telling me you do not want to play Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy?
I mean, I do want to play Batman's Telltale series, so.
Yeah.
Google announces 2 new free games for Stadia Pro January 2020. Includes Rise of the Tomb Raider and Thumper. Great. 2 great games if you play on Stadia. Speaking of Stadia, Google buys developer Typhoon Studios to work on Stadia games, says Michael McWhorter at Polygon. Typhoon Studios you might recognize from nothing, because I didn't recognize them from anything. But they're apparently making a game called... Fuck, I forgot it.
It's in the article. Let me take a look.
It's been announced.
I was going to put this in as like a story we can talk about, but I'm like, why not what? It's too little too late.
Right, exactly.
Like, this should have been done years ago. And I feel like that's just the same conversation we've been having with Stadia for months now. It's just like nothing. This should be a big announcement. It's not. They made Journey to the Savage Planet.
They're making it. That's coming out in the future, right?
Yeah, it's coming out. When did that come out? Yeah, it's upcoming.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too, and actually this is worth mentioning. It is another Ubisoft thing. Like, it's former developers from Ubisoft branched off and made this Typhoon Studios. Everything they seem to be doing is just centered around Ubisoft, which is because Jade Raymond. And I think, like, Stadia is living off of Jade Raymond's amazing connections. And I just feel... I think she could do so much better with Stadia.
Yeah. Oh, well. Speaking of changing positions, going from Ubisoft to Stadia, Shuhei Yoshida has changed positions in Sony recently, and this has nothing to do with that, but he does say in our Sony Quest log, developers tell us they never worked on hardware as easy to develop on as PS5. This comes from Leanne Agosa.
It's Ian Agosa.
Ian, I couldn't tell if it's lowercase L or capital I, although, of course, it's a name is capitalized. Ian. Shuhei was interviewed by Denki PlayStation Magazine, and he claims that the PS4 was designed to learn from PS3's difficult development resources, and they want to continue to this trend with the PS5. And the feedback that they've gotten is that the PS5 has been the easiest console by far to develop for, which means that we're going to see games coming out faster, which means that we're going to see games running better, which means that we're going to see games that look better and perform better. It's going to be all around good things there.
Yep.
Which is a departure from the cell processor on PS3, which was like apparently notoriously very difficult to develop for.
But apparently extremely powerful once you like figured it out, to the point where like it was never really fully tapped, which is interesting. But I think it's worth mentioning it's coming from Shuhei Yoshida, who has every reason to say, yeah, we get an amazing feedback from this. But I believe it, and this is something they've been pretty consistent on in terms of, like, this is what they've been saying since PS4, is this is a goal that we have. And there's also been leaks of developers saying, oh my God, this is really easy to work with. So I believe it.
And that was actually part of their campaign when they were announcing the PS4. They're like, listen, we went to developers, and rather than saying, hey, here's our new console, develop something for it, they said, what do you want in a console? Mm-hmm. And that's how they kind of started the conversation with the PS4. It's nice to see this as an extension of that.
Not even PS4, but PS Vita as well. They said the same thing PS Vita. Like, what do you want from a handheld? Dual
and they all said rear touchpad.
All those said rear touchpad. Rear touchpad launched with Invisibles. Everyone's going to love it.
Speaking of rear touchpad, there's a new DualShock 4 back button attachment for your DualShock 4 due out next month in January, says Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. It's a weird thing that you plug into the headphone jack on the bottom of your PS4 controller. It adds two kind of like paddles on the back that you can program to be any of the other buttons. So if you wanted those to be like L3 and R3, you could do that. If you wanted to be triangle and circle, you could do that. And then on the front, it has an OLED display that shows you up to 3 different profiles. So like if you wanted the racing one to be configured one way, that could be your first one. No, it's on the front.
It's on the front? Okay. There's something on the back as well that shows you.
Because the point is, like, you glance down and see what profile you're on. And if I remember correctly, maybe even that's a button, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But, yeah, so...
The back lights up, but I'm not seeing the front light up in the video.
Really?
Yeah.
Get at it,
It looks like only the back lights up. Which, you're right, that would make more sense if it was in the front, because you can look down and be like, that's what buttons I'm about to hit.
Oh, no, yeah, I think you're right.
That's weird.
Maybe it's to keep that from, like, blinding you in a dark room.
Maybe.
Which is kind of what they did with the touch bar, except for that one little sliver at the top of the touchpad now.
I think what's so interesting to me about this is not that it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea. It's the timing of it. Is this going to be compatible with the PS5 controller as well? I mean, obviously, I'm sure we'll get word of that. Or will the PS5 just have some rear buttons?
Actually, there was a patent this like 2 days ago, I think, that actually came out, that there's a patent for a new Sony controller that has just extra triggers on the back now. Mm-hmm. And this might be a way, because we know that it's going to be backwards compatible with PS4 stuff, this might be a way for them to bridge that gap. And maybe, if, like I'm saying they should do, PS5 games are playable on PS4 just at like a lower resolution or lower frame rate or something like that, that this is a way for you to play those with those extra triggers with a future update. I don't know.
It's also a good way to compete, because I think one of the main appeals for the Elite Series controller on Xbox is those rear panels. Or rear paddles. And I think this is a good, like, middle ground of, like, hey, you don't got to buy a almost $200 controller to get those paddles. Right. You can just buy this $30 accessory. I'm curious how ergonomic it's going to feel.
Yeah, how much weight is it going to add to the controller? Is it going to feel good? I'm sure they've done a lot of testing and research and made it feel good, but we'll see. I do like that it's $30. I think it's a good price point. I'll probably will get one just to kind of play around with it and see whether it would add anything to my gaming experience, but I don't see myself using it in a lot of stuff.
Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts, because I am not 100% sold yet. Just for me personally. I don't know if I would use that. Yeah. I'm curious if it adds anything.
Let's move on to our third-party Quest log. We talked about Oculus earlier, and now they are officially selling a link cable for Oculus Quest, says Jordan DeVore at Destructoid. So if you aren't familiar, if you have the standalone wireless, completely like no PC necessary Oculus Quest, you have the ability to plug a USB-C cable into a PC, get extra processing power, and be able to actually play Rift games as well. There are plenty of other USB-C cables you could use, but Oculus is releasing their own now. It's a 5 meter, which is 15 feet, which is perfect for that kind of play. USB 3.2 Type-C cable. It will run for $80, which is a little steep, but for that length of cable and for the 3.2 connection speed, it's kind of standard. It will not be available worldwide. It will only be in limited quantities, but you don't have to have this cable in order to use it. You could use any other USB-C cable. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a USB 3.2 cable.
Yeah. Looking at, like, when I first saw $70, I'm like, oh, yikes, that's really expensive. But if you really think about what the cable is offering you, it's really not. I mean, think about taking your standalone Oculus Quest and turning it into a Rift and being able to then access a whole new catalog of VR games that you can't get in your Quest. I don't really think it's actually that bad of a deal, and I still feel like there is zero reason to buy a Rift S.
Yep.
Just get a Quest.
So crazy.
And I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I think this is nuts. Quest is a higher resolution than the Rift S does, and the Quest has the ability to move the lenses back and forth.
Right.
In fixed positions on the Rift S. So it's like, why would you buy a Rift S? I don't get it. Anyway.
DNA. Atari Revival offers same 88% revenue split as the Epic Game Store, says Matt Kim at IGN. So if you're developing for the Atari VCS for some fucking reason, and you are exclusive to that platform, you will get 88% of the profits from that sale. If you are not exclusive, you will still get a more generous than Steam offer of an 80-20 split versus the 88-12. And in kind of related news, all VCS units will also double as dev kits if for some reason you got one and you decide you want to develop for it. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, as we get closer to this launch, I still have a lot of skepticism and concern about the Atari VCS. But the past two news cycles about the Atari have mildly warmed me up to it maybe not being a complete failure in product, but maybe just a complete failure in marketing thus far.
At best, it will be Ouya.
I think at best it could be an Ouya, possibly. But there's a little kernel of me that holds on to maybe it just hasn't been discussed well enough. Because, like, this is a good sign, I'd say. I think this is a good move by them. And the last thing they talked about, they had, like, the big blog post of, we're actually going to have a UI for it. There is going to be a store. And, like, talk about these things where I'm like, okay, before we just kind of thought it was going to be plugging in a box and it's like Ubuntu Linux pops up and you go from there. But, like, no, it does look like it's actually going to be a console. They still have to do a lot of work on showing this thing off.
Yeah.
But I'm more optimistic than I was before. But that's still not saying a lot.
Yep.
Speaking of optimistic, What's the next story?
Yeah, Telltale Games Revival aims to practice, quote, non-crunch work environment, says Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. CEO Jamie Ottley, again, by the way, Telltale Games went under, closed their doors, and then a new company that I forget the name of bought all of the rights to the games, well, to most of the games, bought the name of the company, and they're reviving it as that is with some of the original people. With this new company, they want to take a different approach, learn from some of the mistakes of the old one. And there's a quote from Jamie Ottley, the new CEO, that says, "We are taking a measured and methodical approach to growth in order to ensure we can provide a stable," excuse me, I'm dying. Jesus, Michael Christ. "Non-crunch work environment. We are building this into our culture from the outset. We are a new company with different ownership and management and a different approach as to how we structure a studio in today's market." Their newest, in fact, only product in the pipeline was shown off at Game Awards is The Wolf Among Us 2. It currently lacks a release date and is not expected in 2020. I think this is, obviously, crunch is a big issue in the industry. It's really hard to take an established culture, an established company, and turn that ship in the right direction. And being such a new company, hiring all these people, new CEO, brand new from the ground up, I think this is the time where you can actually start out on the right foot. So I'm really optimistic that this kind of helps change the gaming industry and the environment as a whole.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this, and just not because I'm a big Telltale fan, but just because I know people adore and love those games, and it's always heartbreaking to see that a studio like that closes its doors. When you find out why, and you go, "Oh, it's really understandable," but it never had anything to do with the IP itself. It never had anything to do with people not loving the games. It was really just the internal management structure, really bad crunch environment. Like, those are the factors that got in the way. It seems like they know why it failed, and they're going to do better this time. So I really feel like Telltale has a chance of being a giant studio, like a really prominent studio again.
Yep.
People really look forward to.
We just got to make a new
that's
engine.
exciting.
That's it.
Well, I think they're able to use Unreal now. Didn't they say they're able to use Unreal? Or am I just... That's
They
my
were
ass. I don't
the game they were going to release next. I don't remember what it was. Oh, they were working on actually Wolf Among Us 2. This is a reboot of that. They're not taking any of the old stuff. But I think the old Wolf Among Us 2 was going to be in Unreal.
Okay.
I don't know if they're continuing that with the new company, but we'll see.
I think it'd be a smart move. I think that might have been a big problem for them, is maybe their engine was not easy to work with.
Yeah.
It also
there was something,
didn't
I was listening to
achieve
Kind of
great
Funny
results.
Games Daily, and Greg Miller was talking about how he was speaking with a developer at Telltale, and they're like, there's no physics engine in the Telltale engine. So, like, if they wanted to have a ball roll off of a table, they had to actually move the entire world around that ball to make it appear that way, instead of actually moving the ball itself.
Oh my God.
Right. So I'm sure that was a huge, like, pain point for the developers in making all of these games, and the reason why they were so janky.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well, that was the big turnoff for those games for me, is they were so janky. I couldn't get into them because they were just way too janky.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gets better.
Hopefully. But we're not speaking about janky games anymore. We're speaking about good-ass games. Moving on to our main quest, talking about Game of the Year 2019. Every outlet has released theirs so far, and we're going to jump in on that and tell you ours. We've got a structure we're going to go with. Let's see. We're having this discussion right now, live on the air. This is how the cookie crumbles. Let's save honorable mentions for after we talk about our top three. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like it saves the suspense a little bit. If they know what we've honorable mentioned, we're like, oh, that's not going to be their Game of the Year. Jokes on you, motherfuckers. All right, so we've got our top three that we've both come with, and then I've certainly got some honorable mentions. Holden maybe has some?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Great. Holden, I want you to start by telling me, what is your number 3 game in the Game of the Year contenders?
My number 3 game is Metro Exodus. I talked about when that game first came out that there's this middle point in the story that I really, really liked because it really surprised me, and I felt like I had to respond to it instantly, and that just really has stuck with me for the entire year, and I really appreciate that to it. And also, like, talking to other people who have played it and how just like the AI seems to have given us, got some of my eye all of a sudden shit, has given us like different things to react to in each environment. It's really strong AI. I just really like where they took the franchise, and I know that there are AAA experiences that are more polished, and I get all of that, but I'm still really impressed with what they're able to do with the resources that they have. I like the world they create. I love the atmosphere, that they have. I love like the heavy survival elements of that game, like having to wipe away your gas mask because it's getting foggy or something like that, or like having to patch it up because it broke, or like and they really just did so much good stuff with the crafting mechanics, where like I might have to make some ball bearings on the fly really fast because I ran out of ammo, and I have guys who are about to flank me either side, but fuck, I need to like get behind cover and open up my backpack and craft those things immediately, and it just led for some really, really cool immersive moments that I just stuck with me throughout the whole year, on top of some cool narrative moments that also stuck with me too. So
yeah, I remember you obsessing over that one twist that you're like, I can't wait for everyone in the world to discover this so we can talk about it.
I should say it's not so much a twist as much as a turn, but I still really enjoy that moment.
Gotcha.
I think my eye's good now.
Good. I was concerned for quite a while there. For everyone who doesn't remember, that is the one game this year Holden tells me I have to play. So I will be playing that hopefully January, maybe February, before the onslaught hits.
You got to play it before Final Fantasy VII comes out. After that, it's the point of no return.
Fucked. Yep. Great. My number 3 game. Jesus Christ, it's a fucking monsoon outside here in Nashville. Devil May Cry 5. This game came out in, I think it was March this year, and it is the pinnacle of stylish action games. The gameplay is so fluid. It is so fun and ridiculously over the top. I feel like they've learned so many things from DMC. They've learned a ton of stuff from like all the feedback from Devil May Cry 4. They have really interesting characters that are unique enough. Like you have the Devil Bringer hands with all the different options that come with that and the way that you use them. I love the fact that they're disposable as well. So it really makes you think about which ones am I going to bring into this fight and when am I going to use them. Then you still have all the different customizable options for like Ebony and Ivory and the sword that you get with Dante. And then you have this new character whose name I fucking forgot. Damn it. He looks like Adam Driver.
V?
Yes, V. There was like a kind of like a cool enough twist in the story to keep you interested, but really it was the gameplay, the really interesting multiplayer. This game I feel like got really overlooked, but the like not quite asynchronous, but like you're all going into a mission together. And they're like, you're playing through maybe as V, and then also you can see in the distance sometimes another player somewhere in the world playing as Dante fighting through a portion. You can rate each other as like, oh man, that was really stylish, or that's an A rank or a D rank or whatever, and you get points based on how they saw you fight. And then you can also replay that level from the other character, which I think was fucking super cool as well. So I think this game did so many things well. It was gorgeous, and I had a blast with it, and I think so many people slept on this game.
I did at the end of the year. I only played it on Game. I only played it on Game Pass, so I totally slept on it too. And I haven't beaten it, which is we'll talk about that. But yeah, I totally agree. Like the music is super, super great throughout. Even though like I'm not a big fan of that kind of heavy or not heavy metal, but like kind of metal soundtrack in general, it works really, really well. I should say not soundtrack, but like heavy metal music. I'm not a big fan of metal music, but it works really, really well. It gets you amped up while you're playing it because it just matches you bashing demons' heads in. Like it's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Holden, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is I got really caught up between number 1 and 2, and I'm settling on this. Resident Evil 2 is my number 2 game of the year.
Me too.
So let's just talk about it then. I really was surprised by this game because I played Resident Evil 7 and I kind of thought, oh, like it'll kind of build from that, and no, like it really is a different experience for Resident Evil 7, but it is atmospheric as fuck. It is scary as fuck. Mr. X is such a great addition.
Mr. X.
I mean, just listening for like play this game with headphones on, or at least a good sound system, and just hearing his thumps like come around.
Yep, and you I can hear that from like up and to the left, and I know there's a stairwell headed down to my. Oh, God damn it!
Yeah, it really gets you. And I replayed the first half of it in a single sitting, just kind of when I was doing my Game of the Year considerations, kind of remembering some of these games. And I'm just like, man, this game is just so well done. There's really, I mean, you think about even small things in the game, like how perfectly the inventory in the game is just spread across the map.
Yes.
You have to be careful with your weapons, but it never gets you in a situation where you feel like you're completely fucked because you don't have anything. Like it's just they balance everything really, really well, I thought, in that game. and it was really, really enjoyable. I think its short length actually works in its favor because
especially
it is
because of the replayability. You could play it from both perspectives, and you should.
Exactly, yeah.
You should. Even if, like, the first hour of your second campaign, you're like, this is a lot of the same. Like, no, fucking play through it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I think all of the quality of life improvements from the original Resident Evil 2 days and the Resident Evil days, I think it was really, really cool way that they did that to make it, you have the inventory expansion. That was the biggest thing that got me in Resident Evil 1 and 2 is like the limited inventory, having to run back and forth to your stash all the time. But having that expansion in a way that you can continue to get more and more inventory space without breaking the puzzle elements of the game. We're like, oh, now I can suddenly carry everything, and the game's a breeze. I think that was a really interesting and great feat that they pulled off there. I think you're right. It is the most atmospheric game and scary as fuck. It is, for me, it is a battle between that and Resident Evil 7 in VR. That is the scariest game I've ever played in my life. And again, gorgeous. That fucking RE engine. And everything being so wet and slimy.
The gore effects.
Oh, yes.
Are so good looking. Holy crap.
Yeah. And
Really
they've
good
changed
stuff. Like,
enough of it that if you played the original, like, this is still really enthralling and keeps you guessing.
Yeah, and for me, who I had never played the original, or not, well, the original Resident Evil 2, when I just played the first Resident Evil 2 game. That's a weird thing to say. The first Resident Evil 2 game. Yeah, I didn't have that kind of nostalgia going into this, and I think the fact that it still spoke to me so much and didn't rely on that nostalgia, but then still really spoke to people with nostalgia who had played that game is really just an impressive feat. So excited for Resident Evil 3 now. I cannot wait.
Yep.
That's going to be amazing. So, good stuff there.
Holden, what is your 2019 Game of the Year?
My 2019 Game of the Year, I think it was a real battle between Resident Evil 2 and this game. And where I landed is that Resident Evil 2 is a remake, so they had some things to rely on. But Outer Wilds is something I've never played before.
Whoa, twist!
And I got that for my brother for Christmas this year. And
this is Wilds, not Worlds.
Yes, Wilds, not Worlds. So not the RPG. This is the adventure game, which is
Space
essentially about... What was that?
Like the spacey exploration kind of thing.
Yeah. And I just... Like, Metro Exodus had some moments where I kind of think back to. This is a game I think it's going to stick with me for a very long time. There are some parts of this game that felt really special because I had to figure it out. Like, I keep going back to this one area called, well, not going back to it in the game, but like mentally, just this game, part of the game called the Sunless City, where how you get to it is you have, and I'm spoiling something in the game, so if you really don't want to know anything in the game, don't listen to what I have to say right now. And I'm serious because, like, I think the magic of this game is not knowing anything ahead of time. So if you have any desire to play it, stop listening right now. What I really liked about it, there's these two planets that are orbiting each other called the Ash Twin and the Ember Twin. And the Ash Twin is sand, and the Ember Twin is this kind of like hollow cavernous planet that has lots of tunnels to explore. But what happens is that there's a column of sand, almost like an hourglass, that's falling between the Ash Twin and the Ember Twin. So when those deep trenches in the Ember Twin you have to explore are filling up with sand, like, as you're exploring them. So it's like this intensity of, like, I gotta get past this cave, because if I don't, I will literally get crushed alive in this cave. And it just adds, like, fear to you, and I just have those images, like, burn in my mind, because not knowing what it was going to be and getting there, discovering it, and then getting through the cavern and finding the Sunless City, and then all the tunnels that branch out, like, from there, and how that brings me to the high energy. Like, just the exploring this game was so rewarding. It has a really, I think, interesting, abstract ending, and I got this game for my brother for Christmas. He's been playing it, and I specifically got this for him because he's one of those people who's just, like, way too smart, and maybe the best way possible. Where, like, he plays games and figures things out instantly because I guess he's just really good at that. And I'm like, I want to see how he does with this. And he was challenged. It, like, really was like, okay, hold on, I got no fucking clue what to do here. And I'm like, like, try this, try that, and, like, trying different things. And it kind of added new meaning to the whole, like, the game doesn't hold your hand. Like, Breath of the Wild get talked about a lot for, like, oh, this game doesn't hold your hand. But there are a lot of things in Breath of the Wild where they were like, hey, you should go to this point in the map. Or, hey, like, this is what this particular, like, fruit does, for example. There's no hints in this, like, whatsoever. You have to figure everything out, even things obscure as, okay, well, to get inside that core that has the electrical layer around it, you need to get out of your ship and inside of the jellyfish that's able to go inside of that core. Like, these things where it's just like, I wouldn't have initially thought of doing this. until I died so many times and came back and thought, well, maybe that will work, and then it does work. And all the environments are super cool to explore. There's just things I haven't seen in a game before, like a planet that's hollow and its core is a black hole and it's sucking in parts of the planet, but that's also used in puzzles to access certain part of that planet you couldn't access before. But when that part of the planet's in zero gravity on the other side of that black hole, then you can explore it. And there's just so many things where I'm like, holy shit, I've never played anything like this before. And it's this studio's first game.
That's awesome.
It's wild, and I highly recommend playing it. Wild.
Is it outer wild?
Yeah. It is out of this world.
But not Outer Worlds.
Outer Wilds is but not Outer Worlds, no.
Yeah.
This game is it's definitely something to behold, and I highly recommend playing it.
Awesome. Yeah, I did try that game, but it's a cilantro kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate it.
If someone was I didn't like it,
I could tell
I'm not surprised.
why people love it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like to just be cast off and told to fuck off, do it yourself, you're no way you're ever going to like this game.
No.
It's very, very abstract. So it's one of those things where, like, I get it. I get why you don't like it. It's just a game that doesn't speak to everybody. But it hit me in all the right spots. Hit me in the feels, Chad.
Ooh, sexually.
What was your number one game of the year? I'm surprised Resident Evil 2 is not your number one.
Right?
I'm really curious. I have no idea what it is.
Game of the year 2019 for Chad Michaelinis goes to Control.
Oh, good choice.
A lot of the year, I was like, man, Resident Evil 2. Man, who's going to beat Resident Evil 2? And even, what's weird, even after playing Control in August, binging it in a weekend and platinuming it in the weekend, like I literally played that game for like 20 hours in 2 days. Even after I did that, in my mind, I was not convinced that it was Game of the Year. But the more and more we get removed from it, the more I look back on that experience, it's like, God damn, what a great ride that was. It was janky as fuck. I have not played it since I platinumed it, but I can't wait to go back and play some of the DLC. But I think it's a testament to the game that despite its jank, from the frame rate issues, from you load into the environment, but then you're still kind of frozen there for 10 seconds till it loads. Despite all of those technical performance issues, even on a PS4 Pro, I was still so enamored with it and still so willing to go and explore because that world and the lore of what's happening in this area around you is just so freaking fascinating. Being able to explore every single note. Since I actually can't think of any single game where I've been so excited, not for a trophy, but just for the knowledge of what's inside of it, to go and find every single collectible in this world because they're so fascinating. And most of them are about like a particular item that has some sort of kind of weird affectation that is doing weird things to people, like the flamingo, the Christmas tree, and all these kind of things. Fucking fascinating. So whoever wrote all of these things and came up with this concept of these everyday objects just fucking going ape shit and making these weird things happen in the world I want to meet them. I want to pick their brain. I just want them to write endless expansions of this where I just like, I'm going to go pick up a microwave today. I'm going to go find out what this key ring does. I'm going to do whatever this shoe makes me do. And it's these everyday objects are just so fucking fascinating. And then on top of that, the story itself was pretty good. I really loved the acting, the performances from a lot of the characters. The ending, I feel like still had some issues where like it could have been a little bit better. The story just kind of ends. The last like level of the game is that traditional, we're going to throw endless waves of enemies at you and see if you can beat it. But outside of that, what I love is that the side content is also some really fleshed out stuff. Like, you don't fight a lot of bosses in this game, but except for the side quests. So as you complete these side quests, you actually do fight big bosses and different things, which is
interesting.
Yeah,
that's like the opposite of how it would be in any other game. That's
right?
Interesting.
A lot of the boss battles, like 80% of the boss battles you play in this game are in the side quests. And they all have different puzzle elements to them as well, which is really cool. So this game has some excellent combat, some excellent game mechanics, and really, really fascinating lore. And I cannot, looking back on it, I cannot think of any other experiences that I was so in love with and so enamored with that I have to beat this right now. And then I beat it, and I'm like, I have to platinum this tomorrow. Loved it. Every minute of it.
that's one of those games where, oh, I need to finish that for the end of the year. I'm like, I'm just going to rush it in, and I'm not going to be able to appreciate it. And I'd rather appreciate it than rush it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I really want to play that game.
Not every game can be Game of the Year, but there's still some great games out there. Holden, you have a few honorable mentions you want to throw out. Go for it.
I do. Yeah. First one off the bat is just Sekiro. Had I beaten the game, it would be in my top 3, hands down. No question. But I didn't beat the game because it's extremely difficult, and it's a huge time commitment, that game. But just fuck, the combat in that game is incredible. It is really, really solid. It's so much fun just to battle the sword. It's just great. Love that game. Luigi's Mansion 3, really, really fun game. I thought it was very clever at times. It's very unique. I like that game a lot. What the Golf, which I don't know if I could put a mobile game.
What the Golf.
I don't know if I can put a mobile game in my top 3 games of the year, but I really did consider it with What the Golf, because I'm like, I haven't really laughed like that in a game before, and it was just so consistently surprised the entire time. So that was a really, really enjoyable game.
That was one of those games that, when it came out, when Apple Arcade launched in September, I let my niece play with it on my phone for a good hour. And then when she saw me again this week at Christmas, she was like, hey, do you have that weird-ass golf game? She didn't say ass, she's 7 or 8. She's like, do you have that weird golf game on your phone? Can I play it? She's been thinking about it for months.
Because it's that good. It's awesome.
Yep.
One game that I'm surprised, it hit me where I'm like, why did I didn't even consider that as an honorable mention, let alone game of the year. And I stick by it. I just want to call it out because I'm just surprised myself, and it's not in that list for me. Link's Awakening is not even up there for me.
Oh yeah.
It's a great game, but it's exactly the same as the Game Boy version. The art style is really cool, but I kind of realized playing it that Link's Awakening doesn't provide the sense of adventure in a lot of other Zelda games that I like. I don't find myself going to new areas in that game and feeling like I'm going somewhere dangerous. Whereas, when I played Link Between Worlds, for example, there were parts of that map where you go the wrong corner and you're not ready for it, and you're going to get destroyed. And that, to me, in Zelda, that's a sense of adventure. And I just didn't get that from Link's Awakening. I was by no means disappointed in the game. I played it 3 times because I'm a huge Zelda fan. That is not at all what it was. But, I did the 3-heart challenge on that game with no fairies, and I didn't struggle that much. And maybe I'm just real good at Zelda games.
You are so real good at Zelda. So.
Maybe I'm real good. But I know, I really do feel like it wasn't to the same danger level, if you will, as other Zelda games I played, especially the 2D ones. I think the 2D ones tend to be more difficult. So I'm still obviously looking forward to whatever Zelda game is coming out. It did not ruin Zelda for me. But I think I'm ready for a new 2D Zelda game.
Yeah.
As opposed to the remake of an existing one. More so than I think I'm excited for Breath of the Wild 2, to be honest.
Ooh, twist.
Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to call that really good game. But it just surprised me that I didn't even really consider it. And I just wanted to mention that. I was just surprised by that, considering it's my favorite franchise.
Yeah.
And there's also nothing wrong with the game. There's really not much wrong with the game. It just didn't speak to me in that way. I was just kind of surprised by that. Anyway. What are
your honorable mentions?
That I can think of off the top of my head right now in this moment.
Gotcha. My first honorable mention is Gears 5. I actually went back and forth as to whether or not this would beat Devil May Cry 5 as my number 3. Just because I did have such a fun experience with it. It added enough new to the franchise that I feel like has been kind of stale. That the multiplayer components, how it's asynchronous. One of you plays as Kate and one of you plays as some other fuck that you get to choose, whether it's a robot or what's his face. But there are actual decisions that you get to make in the game that affect the ending. There are those asynchronous moments where one person can kind of see all this crazy shit going on and the other one's what are you looking at, that you have to kind of talk to each other about. And it is gorgeous. I realize I didn't ever talk about this really on the episode where I talked about my experience with it, but it is one of the most beautifully stunning games that I've seen this year. And they, of course, lean into they have this whole world with just completely crimson red sand. The entire world is just
better
sand.
Looking than What the Golf or Grindstone?
Yeah, better looking than Grindstone. Isn't that weird?
Weird. That's strange. Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that.
They leaned into the HDR and the great lighting and all this kind of stuff really hard, and it paid off. And then they added the new multiplayer modes, which were actually really fun, and I found myself playing them across multiple nights, which I never expected to do, which was cool. So Gears 5 I think it was a great new kind of return to form for the franchise. Added a lot of new stuff. And then the other two that I have on here as honorable mentions, I didn't feel like I could list them as Game of the Year contenders because they didn't necessarily come out this year. One of them was Destiny 2. This is the game that it relaunched, kind of a soft relaunch in September when they went free to play with the base game. They launched Shadowkeep. They launched Seasons at the same time with season passes and all of these cool rewards that go along with that. And they just kind of restructured the entire game. And I think that was a brilliant move. And we played it as game night. And it is now, in the last 3 months, has by far become the most played game for me this year. I've put in more hours in that game than anything else this year by far.
Also just for game nights in general.
Yeah.
It's dominated our game nights.
Yeah. And it's so fun. There's so much more to explore than I ever thought imaginable. And there's no way I'll ever scratch the surface of like maybe even 20% of this game. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to and I don't want to try. It's amazing. And it's so crazy that I find myself, I log into this game and I'm like, you know what? Today I want to do this quest. And I want to do this quest for this exotic weapon, whatever. And then I get into it and I start like collecting bounties and I was like, but you know what? I could also do this at the same time. And then I get in there and 3 hours go by and I'm like, fuck, I had so much fun doing all this other shit that I never even got to that quest. I can't wait till tomorrow when I can go back and actually start on that quest. Like there's so much to do and all of it is alluring. It's so much fun. And then the discovery of the raids and the raid layers and how much fucking fun those can be with the full and how challenging they can be like mentally. Even if you know a little bit of what's going on and then figuring out how to accomplish that with your crew is so cool. And my last one is Beat Saber, which technically, if you're going by Game Awards rules, did release out of early access this year for consideration. But
you've been playing that game for so long.
I have. God, well, it's only been out on PSVR for a little over a year, like 13 months or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, it came out in November of last year.
It feels like you and Beat Saber have been friends forever.
We've had a long, fruitful marriage. Beat Saber is the best VR game of all time, and these developers are so good about supporting this game. They are constantly adding crazy new things, the ability to customize the colors that you've got, adding really fun new gameplay. Like they have popular music from like Imagine Dragons and Panic at the Disco, and then they have things from like Monster Cat, and then they have a Rocket League team-up pack where they have Rocket League music in there, and they're adding all sorts of new modes and shit like that. And every time that I play a new music pack that they release, whether it's like a 4-song pack or a 10-song pack, I feel like they're still somehow distinctly different from each other. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, the Imagine Dragons pack is really fucking fun for this reason. But Panic at the Disco is fun for this reason. And then Monster Cat has all of these kind of... It's weird that it's all the same mechanic, but they play differently enough that it's really, really fun. And then the fact that they just keep adding with the 90-degree levels and the 360 levels. And I'm so excited for whatever they do next. And it's one of those games that immediately, whether I was going to say whether I play it or not, but I absolutely will play it. But no matter what they release, I immediately, I'll fork over $10 more for a song pack or $8 for a song pack without question, day of. Mm-hmm.
Until Beat Saber 2 comes out and it's Oculus exclusive.
And then I will cut my own throat.
Oh my God.
That's it. That is our Game of the Year discussion for 2019. Holden, we have one subscriber interrogative. It is from Dusty Eccentric Hill. And it just says, have a happy new year.
Oh.
Right?
Have a happy new year.
Have
Dusty.
a happy new year. And I think that's a good place to end it. I know I told you we were going to do something in place of Game on Game Show, but I think we should save that for the next episode as like a way to start 2020. We don't have a Game on Game Show.
Think about it too.
Yeah, I also didn't think about anything until right now, so we'll have a more thoughtful discussion about that. Look forward to that episode. We don't have a Game on Game Show due to vacations and this being kind of weird and set up. We busy. But everybody, I hope you have a happy new year. I hope it's delicious. I hope you have time off work and you feel lots of great things. And we look for... Oh, last thing. In the new year, January, we have a new game, a barf game of the month. Last Guardian. Our last one was Donut County. Go listen to that right now. Last Guardian on PS4, the continuation of the Eco and Shadow Colossus trilogy. Download that. Play it. Is that available on PS Plus or PS Now or...
No,
probably PS Now.
It's a PS Classic. Oh, no, Last
so
Guardian.
It's like $20.
It's one of the PS Classic ones, yeah.
$20 max. You could probably find them on sale, though. Yeah, I'm excited. I've played through that game. I've told you my thoughts on it on the podcast, but I think with this round, I'm going to try platinum it. So similar to what I did with BioShock, where I played BioShock and I was like, every time we played the new one, I tried to platinum that game. So I think I'm going to do the same with Last Guardian. But you have not played this game before.
No, I haven't. I'm really excited to.
You've played Shadow of the Colossus, but never beaten it, right?
Correct, yeah.
And you've never played Eco.
Nope.
They're not technically they're more spiritual successors than actually like a through line between all three of them. So it doesn't really matter if you play the other ones, but there are like little hints and nods and winks everywhere. But
what I'm the most excited to see in this game is the AI, because I've heard very conflicting things about it. To like, it's really bad. To it's really cool how you build this relationship with the AI that gets smarter over time. Based on like, I just want to see it for myself, because it seems like it could be a really interesting mechanic that I can't wait to see, or it could be just as bad as everyone's saying, or some people are saying that it's just awful AI. And I'm curious, but it also just looks really gorgeous. It's just doesn't look like something I've played before, and I'm curious to play it.
Yep, totes excite. Lastly, you can go to patreon.com/respawn-aim-fire for $1 a month or more if you decide you want to be generous, but we won't give you anything extra. You can influence what we play. You can vote for February's Barf Game of the Month. You can play along with us. In fact, we are raiding again on Saturday. Can't freaking wait. We're going to do the Prestige version of the Leviathan raid. I'm so pumped.
You guys have fun with that.
You get free wallpapers. I've designed this month's wallpapers, and I have it on my phone, and I've been using it for a couple of days, but now I'm thinking, maybe I want to go back and redesign it. So those might come a couple days late. We'll see. Until next time, here's our usual sign-off. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Ack.
It's actually now chalky, chalky, chalky. Acky.
I approve.